Okay, back onto our, whoops, Twitter is dangerous. President Trump, listen to us. Twitter is dangerous. So we are back here, BCST 110, and we are supporting BCST 110, yeah, Writing for Electronic Media. We are supporting your web package, assignment. So I just want to open it up here. And keep reminding people of this. And here it is, web package due November 14th. That is coming up soon. Next Tuesday, right?
You can turn on a radio or a web package and then come to an event from 46.
So true. So many things you could do. I think our day is basically mapped out for us. So, oh my God, remember this. We always have to be in student view in order to see this. So boom, let's get into student view and let's see our assignment once again. And we've been working our way through advice on this. Here we go. So if we're looking for about 500 words based off of your television package script using the techniques of adaptation that we presented last class, and we'll talk a little bit more about it with the idea that you're working on behalf of an audience that may have seen your television package on TV already, or maybe coming to this fresh. So for those who've seen it already, you want to provide something extra. For those who are coming to it fresh, you want to provide a well-organized, print-based type of story, although it'll have multimedia elements. But you're going to restructure your TV package for consumption on the web. And since part of what makes the web great is the multimedia and interactive aspects of it, I'm going to ask you to add one multimedia element to your web package, a photograph, with the understanding that if you were really producing this for the web, you could put in video, you could put in audio. And I'll also ask you for one interactive element, which there's a list of possibilities, but give a thought as to what your particular story could benefit from in terms of interactive elements. So they could include simple things like relevant links. If you use links as your interactive element, you must summarize in a sentence or two what's behind the link, and these have to be real links to real web pages that expand on the content of your story. So yes, do summarize those. You can obviously make hot links in the text of the web package, but I'd also expect to see an interactive elements set aside maybe at the end of your story. So to summarize what you got to turn in, first off is a summary blurb with a strong headline, which is the kind of thing you would see on the splash page of your website. So that would be a 50-word summary of the story. Very often it is a duplicate of a summary lead that's actually in the story. I mean, some stations it's that automated. They'll just like, okay, it'll take the first 50 words of your story and plug it onto the home page. By the way, Google search also will do that. So the strong headline is to give people an idea of what's in your story. The whole of it should tell them sort of what the story is about and maybe try to get them interested in it. So that would be on the home page of the television station, and then when you click on the headline link, it would get you into the web news story. Now, I'm not suggesting anyone do this in HTML, and so you just can turn this in a Word document or whatever word processor you use. Word document or a PDF or something like that. You don't have to make a website out of this. But assuming that you clicked through the headline, you get to the main news story, 450 words or more if you want to go for more. And we talked last class in depth about how to quickly adapt your television package for the web. So things like pulling out SOTs and making them into quotes, looking at your video, making sure that you write descriptive passages that would cover for information that was originally in B-roll that you couldn't see. We also talked about web style and sort of proved it with some reading tracking surveys. Good thing to do is keep your paragraph short to 2, maximum 3 sentences. Use line breaks in between paragraphs so that they're easy to see how short they are. Use subheadings, so little headlines within the piece which tell people what's going on in sections of your story. Stick with your active verbs and your short sentences from broadcasting. The web can do with that. And clean up spelling and grammar and make your, so that means if you've been using sentence fragments in your script, turn them into full and proper sentences for your web story, just because you lose credibility if it doesn't seem well written. And so that's it. And then links at the bottom of the story if that's your chosen interactive element. Okay? So we said that most of web style is, again, audience-centric. We're just trying to appeal to a readership that often goes, doesn't start at the beginning of the story and read all the way through. It'll jump into different points, especially if someone is coming to you from the station. If they've seen the package, they just want specific information, they may go in and look at your subheadings and find their way to that information. So this is one of the ways that you're appealing to an audience that has potentially already seen your television story, but maybe hasn't either, right? The other way that you're appealing to those is to give them something extra. So in addition to part 3 here, which was all based on your package, part 4 is something a little extra. So we're asking for a little more content. This is not integrated into part 3. This is a separate little story, what used to be called a sidebar, but we don't get confused about that now. This is just an extra little 150-word story that will be related to your main story, but not necessarily right on it. So if your main story is about an event, consider writing a profile of somebody involved in it. Or vice versa. If it was a profile and they talked about some amazing thing that they did recently, maybe you could write that up as a 150-word extra. If it's a story where some context is important, maybe this is an opportunity to write 150 words of context. Kyle, question?
This would be specific to what I'm writing, but just to figure out if I've got this layout correct. Write up the story. So for like the web extra, or no, for the additional web resources, I could kind of like have a link that goes to like a news source talking about the laws and regulations of people living in vans. Then for like my web extra, I could potentially say like, also hear about the math teacher who lives in a van, and it would be like a link to a story about the math teacher as opposed to just students.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And it would be a short, pretty short little piece, like 150 or something, but it's exactly right. Yeah, because the math teacher was not part of your focus in, the television package, but it's a fascinating person, situation and stuff. So that's perfect. Let the audience-centric mantra guide you in your choice of web extra. What do people want to know about? What questions may they have after this that you can provide more information with? Or, failing that, think about what kind of oddity can you bring to this that'll catch people's attention. It's like a teacher living in their van too. It's like, what's happening with that? It's not what you'd usually expect, although no doubt the shape of things to come. But so good for the web extra there. So that's a couple of suggestions. Maybe a profile of a key person like Kyle's talking about. Charts or graphs or information from online sources that could provide visual context for your story. So we could get to that today. Actually, that would be a good thing to cover a little bit of today. Then the web interactive feature, which, as I said, worst comes to worst, it could be a cluster of links at the end. And as I said, If you're going to do links, again, I will emphasize, based on past experience, the links actually have to work. They're not just, oh, I'd like to have 5 good links here. It's like, yeah, what? But 5, what are they? So, copy those links, and I'm sure everybody knows this, but, if the link is to this page on LinkedIn, just highlight the URL and go Command-C to copy it, and then you can paste it into the document that you're working on, right? And if you have any issue with that, just let me know. We can expand upon that, or take BCST 119, Digital Media Skills, where you'll do all that.
Did you see an example of a package?
Of a web package? Oh yeah, right. Okay, give me 2 seconds for that.
An example on Canvas for our assignment.
I'll give it to you right now. And I'll download it and upload it for your viewing pleasure. So where are we? PSAs? We're not there yet. We used to do this so much faster. Web package example. Farmers. Okay. And let me download this and upload it for you so that I don't forget.
Blurb.
Because I am intensely busy. So downloads, and we go to web package, and it's a file. It's a new file. Okay, there it is for you folks. And
Don't forget to go back to student view.
must I? Hang on, let's look at this first. By popular demand, this is the work of our wonderful, missed, dearly departed student Leland Yee, who is not the notorious Leland Yee. I know, incredible, right? So another person shares that name, just the way that somebody else has the name Malcolm Cecil, actually some very famous person. Leland was a student of ours. Sadly, he died at home a couple of years ago. But there was also a city councilor, his name Leland Yee, who actually
Busted by the FBI.
busted because he didn't live in.
No.
What was it? What was he up for?
He was co-conspiring with Oakland Department of Education chair or school board member for gun trafficking.
Wow.
And the FBI went ahead and raided his office one morning, and it made news because obviously the FBI, when they serve warrants to raid your office, you sure don't know about it.
Yes, right. They show up and surprise, just like Paul Manafort. Surprise, we want to see your computers.
An FBI agent did say that to me when they raided another place.
Really? Yeah, nobody knows about this?
She had no sense of humor.
Oh gosh, all in a day's work for the FBI. Okay, well, Leland, his package and his reporting from radio through the web was on organic food, and it started as an event type story about a farmer's market in one of the neighborhoods not far from here. It's been a while since I looked at this, but now you've got it. There's, and then he wrote it up as a package, and then he wrote it up as a web package. So here we are. He's ordered things in his own way, but I don't mind that as long as it's all really, really clear. So he also had the WordPress skills. So I wonder if it's still up there. So remember, you don't have to produce anything as. Yep, still there as well. Wow. Yeah. So you don't have to produce this, but Leland did. So however, it's clearly marked blurb, okay? So there's a little picture eating up the organic food experience, and there's his lead. Consumers are eating up the concept of organics. Everything that the organic food aura envelops is attracting shoppers in droves. My comment would have been, Leland, keep it simple, please. Once a small niche, the industry is growing and small farmers and markets could be left behind, all right? And then he's treated this as kind of a table of contents here. So the web extra there is linked. The 5 links, or in this case we got 4. He's got actually 4 there and 5 here. So he's got a lot of links to pertinent information. And then because he took a lot of photographs when he was there it was Stonestown Farmers Market, he he did a little gallery of those that you could see in the the web layout. But again, we don't. We got to get in there that way. So yeah, he's done pages like this. It's laid out like that. Okay. And but let's get back to how you would turn it in. So here's the main story adapted from his package. Short paragraphs, subheadings. You're required to have one picture. You can have more if you like. So he had a lot of pictures that he liked, so he put them in. There he goes. Now, in the second leg of the story, I recall, first this started as an event in the farmer's market. Remember, he had to add a second source. And so what he decided to do was compare sort of big business organic food, visiting, talking to a manager at the Ocean Whole Foods, just to talk about how they procure, their organic produce and, just trying to. So that was that was also in his package, the second part of it. But you can see he's expanded. And then this is his web extra. So a supplier that he met at the farmer's market, he is again, Gary. So this wasn't his shot. Some of these are his shots. It's nice. It's good. Attribute your photograph, please. And anyhow, so he profiled these guys who they obviously don't live in town, but they come in.
Is that the web extra?
That's the web extra, exactly. Right. That's the web extra. 2014 already, my God. So that's it. And this was.
What's the story?
Pardon me?
Where's the story?
The story's here. It's eating up the organic food experience. So this is more than 450 words, but this is a long piece adapted from his TV package.
Okay, so it ends with the Whole Foods section right
All of
there.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as I said, the Whole Foods section was, remember I asked in your TV package, did you have like a kind of a second source? Mm-hmm. Leland, he liked this story, so he went after a second source. Definitely. His second source was somebody from Whole Foods, and in the TV package it was just a couple of SOTs, about we're on a schedule. We get all the raspberries like on November 15th or something. And there's a couple other, quotes in there about how, Whole Foods is. His point was, if you get your produce at a farmer's market, you get community. You get helping, really small businesses. You get the flexibility of when things are in season. And his point about Whole Foods is, it's more convenient, but it's also, a bigger kind of mass business, and you don't get the contact unless you're Kyle, who knows everybody in the store. Definitely good with them. So we're excited. We're not required. So this is just a little extra. Not required. Nowhere in the assignment does it say you need a giant works cited page.
So in his example, having mentioned that he did go over what ideally would, say, the minimum web package look like?
The assignment says 450 words, so I think this is an excellent example in that it's got all the parts. It's just every part is supersized versus what you want to do. Just want to do a little word count here and see how much more gigantic this is than what is
I guess it looks in part long because of those pictures. They take up some space.
But he's not terribly over 450 would be my guess.
Let's see. Can we eyeball it or not? Can Word work for us?
525.
You're calling 525? 876. 876. So you're required, it said 450 or more. So he definitely went to 876.
So in this case, we, like all the other assignments we did, ideally we shouldn't go, say, like 15 seconds, but this one, having done 800, it's okay?
It is, yes, because the web has limitless space, so why not take advantage if you so desire. If you don't, then don't. Yeah, 450 would be a minimum, and you can go longer if you want.
And would 450 be like an ideal target to not to retain reader attention? Like
Yes, I guess. I don't know. I like long journalism as well as like shorter, medium-sized pieces. I don't know. Depends. I wouldn't want to read a long story about something I'm not interested, but I wouldn't want to read a medium story about something I'm not interested in either, right? I mean, it's true, no? Sounds dumb, but it's true. I mean, if you write me an incredible story about something going on in media, I'll read, 1,000 words or more.
12 words about Donald Trump.
Yeah, I don't know. I literally, if I added up the number of words I've read about Donald Trump, outpaces everything else. It's ridiculous. Look, what a waste of time. But yeah, absolutely. Exactly, right? Why? It's habitual. Yeah. Right. But this, you want to stay on topic? What do you got to say about it? More questions? Because I just gave you guys a great example, but you still seem confused. So ask away. Why are you confused?
Well, because
it's not the exact length that was specified in the assignment?
No, it's just having
Okay.
done the other pieces. I guess this one is a different transition. I'm just having trouble acclimating it to because
Okay.
the word count / the timing. Having done those pieces, what is it, 2, 3 of them so far, is kind of hard to transition to.
Having endless space.
Endless space, you can go on, and yes, the web is endless, but I would think maybe I'm still stuck on that question. What would be ideal? I mean, you don't.
525. Go for it.
525.
Yep, you heard it from me. 525. Everybody, 525. But 450 is okay, as is 800. It's I'm no doubt editors at web publications give pretty solid story lengths, So, but in broadcasting, I mean, definitely like a 2.5 minute package is a 2.5 minute package. It's like you watch the news, you're going to see a million 2.5 minute packages. A 5 minute package, NBC, investigates. That's about it. So there's some really established lengths in terms of broadcasting. Plus, it's like a 30-minute slot. You can't go 31 minutes just because something was interesting. Versus, I would assume the size of an online publication can fluctuate without too much difficulty.
I guess in this case, it's because it's web. If a reader chooses to go ahead and continue on reading, it's up to their discretion. Versus in broadcast, whether it's TV or radio, you are stuck to those strict timelines.
That's
Maybe
true,
that's
right?
why I'm having trouble.
Yeah, that's very true, right? Because it's just like it's being shown to you, so you can't jump around.
Okay.
Yeah. Very true. But yeah, I mean, there's this. The other reason I put this up is it's a great job, and Leland is sorely missed. And I figure, there have been many other great jobs, but I don't know. I just like to remember him when I look into these things. So that's up there now for you guys to take a look at. If you want to follow his layout, that's fine. And just remember, you don't have to do the online type of thing. Oh, that looks like fun. Stones down. The photographs that Leland took. San Francisco State also has a campus organic day. I think it's Thursday. Anyway, some of the same vendors go there because they're close by. So here we go. This will save me having to talk about the interest of doing a Google map, but it is something that we've done before when we were over in the ocean, Ardex building. We were much closer to a computer lab where we could actually practice doing a map. So it's pretty easy to do this type of thing. And no doubt if I do try to show it to you, I'll find out that Google Maps has changed once again the way you have to do this. But although the interface changes a lot, making this type of map is pretty,
Easy.
yes, it's something that you don't have to learn a lot in order to do. What you have to do is enter into the Google Maps engine a comma-separated, CSV-separated spreadsheet with just 2 columns with the name of the thing that you want to display, like the Grand Lake Farmers Market, and an address. And Google will put a pin down and the name of each of the things that you enter in. So you just got to make sure that you give it the data in the form that it wants. 2 columns, one will be for the name, one will be for the address. And then Google Maps will look up the address and size the map based on, you know, how much it needs to display of the world. And then it'll put in your heading there. In addition, it'll allow you to do extra layers. So how much of this is actually, okay, there you go. So we can find, so this is basically the information that Leland would have entered in like that, right? I mean, he would have entered it in that spreadsheet and it'll come up like this. But you can also do other layers as well. And so if you have a story which is going to be helped by a map, it's pretty easy to do. This being an interactive element. So remember in the assignment there's a long list of interactive things that might be good. There you go. So those are possible, but again, not required. So that should set you at ease if you're not, you know, about to run out and find that out. Right? Web package. Just get back out of here. Web extras and interactives here.
So he happened to do his on WordPress, but we're not required.
You're not required to do that at all. Yeah, it's just because he knew how to do it, so he did it.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for something to open up here. We also have so extras, maps. So I can make this, in fact, let's just make sure it still runs and you can.
Is that low play?
You will see in just a second. Let's see.
Google Maps Engine Lite helps you create custom maps to share with collaborators and publish to the web. To get started, you can go directly to mapsengine.google.com, or you can simply go to the normal maps.google.com, choose My Custom Maps, and choose the Create option.
That's Denver.
If you're working in the older Google Maps, click on My Places, and then the red Create Map button, which essentially redirects you to mapsengine.google.com.
That's the place to go.
However you get here, you can choose to create a new map or open an existing map. I'm going to create a new map. There are many classroom applications for the Maps Engine tool. You can record features of an area related to history or geography, record personal experiences for locations kind of like a map's diary, and you can visualize and map data. You can even create a custom map to direct participants to field trip locations with relevant directions for what they should do there. Let me get started with my map by searching for a location. I can create my own custom marker for this by clicking the Add Marker button and clicking on the map where I want the marker to be located.
So that's what Leland did. The little shopping carts are his custom thing.
The point appears on my map and I can click on it to bring up the pencil to edit and add in more details. I can also add in a picture by URL, so you'll need to locate the image you want in another tab, right click on it, and choose Copy Image URL. Go back to Google Maps Engine and paste that address in the Maps Engine box and click Add. Make sure to save your changes. Unlike the classic My Maps tool, Maps Engine does not support rich text formatting, so my font color is changed to standard black. Let me change the name of this map before I forget. To do so, I just click on the untitled map text and enter my new title. In addition to adding custom place markers, I can also draw lines on the map. Let me search for my new location. Then I will choose the line tool. I'll click once to start my line, and I will double click to end it. I can draw more than just straight lines as well. If I use the line tool,
Okay, well, now we're getting into the details. However, you can see within a couple of minutes you can enter in a pretty effective map, including photographs, locations, and she'll probably go on. There are different layers you can also put over a map in addition to what she's showing. So maps could be a really good way of visualizing stuff geographically. And as you can see, I mean, you could follow her steps in the video and have a map in 10, 15 minutes probably. Right? That'd be cool. If you have a story that unfolds over time, there are a lot of web-based apps which can generate a timeline for you. So here's a roundup of different apps that'll do that. With varying degrees of multimedia ability. So again, this is for your information, right? Because I mean, you could put a URL to a Google map to me in a Word document that you send. These generate an embedded kind of video window that you could put into a website. So no need to try to do a timeline this way, but there are a bunch, including Google has a very, I found it primitive the last time I looked at it last year. They may have like poured some of Google magic into it and it's like fantastic now. Because usually things are crappy just because they abandon them and they don't do anything to them. So anyway, Google has a timeline tool as well. Google Docs does, if you want to search it out and try it, as a widget that you can put in on a page. So if you felt like doing a timeline because you were working on a story with, something that unfolded over time that was a little bit complex, or you wanted to talk about, the evolution of San Francisco laws on homelessness, or something like that, you could do that. Again, you are free to figure out what kind of interactives you want to use, and go ahead and use it. Basically, write it up. If you want to try a game or something like that, some of these are just, there they are. FAQs, discussion forums, is if you could conceptualize a game and try it out, if you like. My son spends a lot of time creating games in Scratch. Whatever, if you're into it, there are things that could be done. But so those are some of your interactive options. Maps are really good things. I mean, like when we invite people to campus, I usually because it's so hard to find our building, I'll enter the address and then just copy the map URL and stick it in an email. And that way when someone clicks on it, wow, Google Map shows, go to Phelan and cross the parking lot and there it is. It's useful even just to tell people how to get somewhere in addition to your story. Can anyone think of anything? Anyone got a story which location might be interesting? JP, you think showing where the festival was occurring and any of the things around it might be good for your story?
Yeah, I was thinking of doing a timeline of the Hunters Point neighborhood.
Oh, cool.
Just to give some context.
That would be really cool. Yeah, good idea. Well,
If I'm just going to rattle some stuff off the top of my head, I could potentially do a timeline or a map where it points out all of the different locations where gatherings take place, because the growing community of people living in vans have started these nationwide meetups where people get together, and
okay, so your map would cover Oregon and Washington, wherever these things
Arizona,
happen.
yeah.
That might be interesting, again, it's like it would depend if it's a nice just
Or a calendar.
way of visualizing some of the things that could be in a story. Jenny, you can think of anything that would
I'm thinking about my.
various locations that he's like found misbehaving people. You find
that's
they all
the point.
cluster in this one area.
That map, in that case, a map wouldn't work because it would be the boundary of the entire Bay Area.
Oh yeah, yeah. But then I mean you could, but then it would just be like in different spots, like where he.
Well,
But
I
he's done
was
so
thinking-
many. I'm not suggesting.
I was thinking the feature, and the feature is my interview with him. But then I'm thinking about the VOSOT that includes the second source,
Yes.
and then in that
Which was like a kind of a character observation on him.
it,
right?
it was,
Yeah.
but
Which is
I
nice.
mentioned a specific example about that store, that pet store that donates their funds to the Peninsula Humane Society, and I was thinking if I were to mention that, then I could put a map link to that place.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if it's really necessary.
Yeah.
You know, because it depends. Is the more geographic locations you have in a story, I think the more useful a map can be. If you're just talking about one place, maybe then a good photograph of it or something like that. You know, if that's available.
Okay, got it.
You know, and I mean a crazy thing. I mean, Google Earth might get you the ability just to do a screen capture on. Let's say you didn't have a picture of that outside of that store, you could just look it up, find the address, get like a Google Maps street level view. You could get a picture of the store just like that, but not going anywhere.
He did it in this segment, so I can do it.
Oh, okay. So you can do a capture like that, but it's like basically. If it's in Google Maps, there's at least a poor quality kind of drive-by shot of any location, which is useful too sometimes.
In my case, I mean, because it's a profile, because I did a profile piece, would a picture of them go into the package, or would a picture of, say,
Oh, Jenny, whatever you think would be appropriate. It's like I personally don't know the guy. I know his reputation. It'd probably be great to have a picture of him in there somewhere. Just so, oh yeah, okay, that's who we're talking about. I've seen him on TV before, or something like that. Because not everybody knows him as well as you. But really, your choice of photograph is.
limitless?
Yeah, or it's like as long as it kind of makes sense that like why is there a picture of this? Of course, it's the profile of a person, so you'd want to see a person. These could be fun. So the reason this is not available to you yet is because these things are not automatically transferable from Insight to Canvas. You have to copy everything and paste it into a new application. It is a little much for me to deal with. There are also some tools here for data visualization. So. This is, okay, we sort of touched on this when we looked at the Washington Post story about Top Secret America, and I couldn't find, they'd taken their actual visualization off. So I don't know, we don't even want to get into this today. But basically this is a growing job area in online journalism, and a growing interest is making journalism out of data sets. And it's just seemed to me that in a broadcasting department where we have both journalists and very visually oriented people, and sometimes they're both in the same individual, I was thinking, well, this is, maybe we have some budding data journalists among us who would be interested in visualizing data sets, so, but that's far afield from your web package, I guess. Yeah. So there you go. These are just some of your options for web interactives. Yeah. The other thing is some of these are pretty moving actually in terms of other multimedia stuff. So This is actually, a lot of these are based on print. So, you know, the newspaper photojournalist is out there. They've got some amazing shots. And some of them go in the newspaper as, you know, support, visual support for the text. But they can also do multimedia stuff with them. So this one is about the, you know, the Boston Marathon bombing. And there'll be some, you know...
I was standing on the finish line taking video of runners coming in when about 10 feet from me on the sidewalk, I heard a massive explosion and I saw a white plume of smoke rise up. When I opened my eyes and realized what was going on, I saw a large crowd of people in what was clearly the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. There were people lying on the ground, mangled, blood, glass shattered. It was really chaos. In quick succession,
I just got through the finish line. That was only not a couple minutes from the finish. Then the explosion went off, and it sounded like it almost sounded to me like a loud mortar when I was in Vietnam. And then the smoke went up, and I'm yelling to the people because they stopped.
Come on, dude.
I just got through the finish line. That was only not a couple minutes from the finish. Then the explosion went off, and it sounded like it almost sounded to me like a loud mortar when I was in Vietnam. And then the smoke went up, and I'm yelling to the people because they stopped. I said, keep moving. I wanted to get away as quick as I could. Then the other explosion happened, and then they were starting to move, but then again, and then all of a sudden the people got hysterical, and they were yelling and screaming, and I couldn't move very fast because I just got done running, and I got a little worried that I wasn't going to be able to get out of the way. I just was yelling at the people, keep moving so we could clear the area there. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what was happening.
When I first came down on my knees into the ground, I just trying to calm him down, to let him know that he's okay, that he's going to be okay, they help us on the way, we're going to help you here, relax, what's your name? He told me his name, told him my name is Carlos, just relax, stay still. He was very awake the whole time, and then I saw that he was bleeding very badly. Another Samaritan who came along to help, he and I start working together by me picking up a sweater and turn it apart in order to put it in their legs to stop the bleeding because it was very bad. And after we tied the tourniquet and the legs, another young lady came running with a wheelchair, and I grabbed that wheelchair. I picked up Jeff, and I put him in the wheelchair, and I told the lady, we need to move fast. We need to move fast. I pushed that wheelchair, and I was screaming, I need an ambulance, I need an ambulance, an ambulance, an ambulance, I need an ambulance. And I never let go him of the wheelchair. So I reached the ambulance. I picked up Jeff from the wheelchair, and I put him in one of the beds of the ambulance, and they took over from there, the paramedics. I don't consider myself as a hero. Jeff has a mother, a father, brothers, and girlfriends or wife and family who really was hoping somebody help their own sons. As a father, it's my responsibility to honor my sons, from one family to another family. I've been there where I receive comfort from families, and now it's time for me to give comfort to other families.
So what do you think of this multimedium?
It's pretty good.
Yeah?
I mean, if you were covering like a marathon, the marathon bombing, and you're talking about like the latest developments, maybe you could have it.
Yeah. You can also tell a story from a whole bunch of different perspectives, and it's like you don't have video, but if you have audio and you have really powerful pictures, then you can, it's like that.
On some of the news channels, like any one of the news channels, their pieces are obviously for broadcast, but when they do put it on the web, sometimes they use select images and literally their text is the script that they went ahead and
Interesting.
is.
Yeah. So that would like go under the picture as a kind of
No, literally the text for the page for that story is literally all the words, all the VO and the SOT and
Okay.
all of that makes up the text on the page.
Gotcha. And just that, so it's basically like the transcript of.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
The literally it's
All
a
right.
transcript.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. That's called shovelware, right? So that's when you don't actually adapt anything. So that's. But you know, if you don't have the manpower to, you know, to actually adapt stuff, then shovelware is what you get. There's shovelware all over the web. If you can find pretty quickly stories that are just a transcript rather than something that's being worked over. Let's see. So slideshows can be pretty powerful. There's a couple others here. This is also out of a newspaper, The Plain Dealer. Flash player problems. Chrome is not a friend of Flash.
Is anyone a friend of Flash?
Firefox has better support. If you're having trouble showing a video or something in Chrome, open it up in Firefox. You usually have a better chance. Maybe not. What do we got going here? Anything? This is kind of I don't know if we want to get into this story today anyway. This is a young woman who was shot in the face by her estranged boyfriend.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
And she, so basically it's, the series covers her recovery and restorative surgery and everything. And so there's pretty amazing animations as the surgeons describe how.
She survived being shot in the face. You should have started with that. Then
Sure.
It's a much better story.
Oh, okay. Well, yep. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you anymore unless I can get some, I don't know what it is. Is it them or is it us? I'm not sure. But it sounds like it's too heavy for us to deal with today anyway. We've had terrorist attacks. So yeah, she survived, and in fact, the final section of the multimedia story is the the sentencing of her ex-boyfriend who tried to murder her, and the stuff that she says at trial and stuff. So
Did he get life?
I don't know. I can't remember. You're sort of more listening to her and how she's processing, because the whole story is about her recovery and all the surgery and the OT to get back walking and stuff. She's incredibly courageous, and in cooperation with the newspaper, she started an educational type of. She goes to schools and she talks to students and stuff. Because this was her high school boyfriend. I mean, she was just like a year out of high school and stuff, and they had broken up and stuff. So I mean, it's really that age group. So yeah, pretty. I don't know. You have to be in the right frame of mind for it, but it's exceptional reporting. That's for sure. Gosh, really well done. So again, I was maybe the stuff we're looking at today, especially these last few things. You may not want to do it for your own story, but it's interesting to think of what's happening to journalism as it all moves online and it's all multimedia, and you have all kinds of options. You can pair audio with still pictures. You can, it's like all kinds of stuff, maps, timelines, and you can do many things to bring a story to life on the page that you couldn't do before. So interesting. So any questions finally about the about the assignment, which is due. So you want to know.
Next week.
Back we go. It's due next week, yes, but I'm going to chat to see maybe people. Hi, adjust the levels on your mic. The sound is clipping. Thank you, Araceli. It's great having students with audio experience. Jackson, how are my levels? Okay, so no comments on content. Fair enough.
And it would be ideal to follow the inverted pyramid.
Again, what we looked at last time is, you'll probably come out with something like your package structure with a couple of paragraphs of summary lead at the top. So if your inverted pyramid looked like maybe 2 summary paragraphs, and then it might take this form afterwards or something like that. Fair enough. It's still kind of shaped like that. You know what I mean? So definitely the summary leads in the beginning that'll contain your most important information. Then after that, the adaptation of your TV package may look like this, or you might put more work into rewriting and get the inverted pyramid. But I think if you're doing this type of thing, then your first couple of paragraphs being summary lead and more prints oriented, you're doing what NBC Interactive does, so that's pretty good. Yeah. Cool. Well, just wondering if any of this is still relevant to our discussion. Shovelware we talked about. Multiple elements, we've been putting more into that today. Easy to use pieces. Okay, blogging. So, people still blogging? Anyone got a blog they currently using? Yeah?
I used to.
You used to? Yeah. What?
Travel blog.
Cool. And what made you stop
Well, I'm not really traveling anymore.
Oh, okay.
But I'm trying to transition it into a different style of blog now that I'm not traveling around.
Cool. Are you on any particular platform?
I was using Wix. Now I'm transitioning into WordPress.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have to pay for Wix?
No. Well, they do have, you can buy the domain name, but there's a free version of it as
Okay.
well. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And what kind of readership and feedback were you getting from your...
Well, initially I just honestly started it just to kind of keep my family and close friends updated on my travels and stuff. And it kind of grew a little bit bigger than I expected. Just in terms of Facebook and social media kind of helped it grow into something a little bit bigger than I expected. Nothing huge or anything.
Right. Right. But you wound up having people that you didn't know reading you, and that's interesting.
Exactly. And people from my past contacting me and telling me that they were really intrigued by the stuff I was writing and stuff, which is kind of surprising to me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Kyle, I think that was some of your experience too, right?
I never really got into blogging. I set it up to do it, but my lack of time management for being constant with writing was not where it should have been. How often were you writing?
It was kind of scattered because it kind of depended on my traveling itself. Traveling plans were very tentative in terms of when I would move to a new place. But I'd say in a total of the 6 months that I was traveling, I posted a total of maybe 14 or 15 blog posts.
That's great. That's great. And when you were posting, were you just thinking, man, this is extraordinary, I'm just going to write about this? Or were
Yeah, I tried to only write when I felt the inspiration, not a forced, on time, update, because I didn't really want it to be one of those kind of, because tons of people have travel blogs, and I feel a lot of them can just be today I went to this place, today. It's just a kind of, very, I don't know, boring format, I guess.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to just write when I felt inspired by something, or a certain place kind of touched me in a certain way, I guess.
That's very cool. Yeah, that's great. I I hope you keep up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. More travels are necessary, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Sitting in the back of MUB 388. And I'm thinking, yes, like, yeah, my regular updates from the back of class, right? But yeah, I was just thinking, as you were saying, that's part of our textbooks is don't blog just to blog. That's kind of what you're saying is like, I don't want to write just to write. I should write it when something really strikes me as important. Yeah. That's a good point. And yet it says, maintain a steady stream of content to grow your audience over time. I mean, that's the challenge, right? Is that how do you keep on generating stuff that you find, inspiring enough to write about? Yeah, it's...
That was my big struggle.
It's a challenge, sure.
I'm like, even when I'm doing interesting shit, I find often, just doing things, like people have told me, like, I had some friends back home, right, and I was like, I don't have anything to write about. As I'm getting ready to leave for California, and my friend looks at me, he's like, dude, if anybody has to talk about, he's like, it's you, and I'm just like, but like, for me, it just feels like life. It doesn't feel like there's this thing I should be telling everyone else. It's just like, hey man, I just decided I was going to move to California, so like, it's not like, it didn't feel to me like there's like these things I should be telling to other people, but it's trying to get past that idea of like considering it normal when I guess for most people it's not, and then just like turning that into content.
Yeah, exactly. Garrett, was that your experience too? It was like,
yeah, I mean, I think that when it comes to, if you're writing about yourself, like, which is very different than a lot of broadcasting writing, but if you're writing from like personal experience, I think an audience can really tell if it's forced or not. If you're actually writing about something you feel inspired about, or like you felt a good reason to write about this, or if you're just writing it because you're like, oh, I feel like I need to put out another piece or another blog post. I feel like a lot of times the audience can pick up on that.
Yeah, because you're kind of pushing your enthusiasm for it. Exactly.
That was the day I turned off all of my smartphone. It's like when I sat down to do just that. I sat down to just post something that I knew was, and it was just like, I gotta stop doing this.
Yeah. I wonder if, though, is it at a certain point, like, I don't know, maybe I think things are separate and different when they're not, and you guys fill me in, but it's like writing about yourself or writing about the experiences that you have that other people could be interested in. Where is the dividing line there? Because it seems to me like what your friend was saying is like, Kyle, you're writing about yourself, but you're having an experience that anybody would find out of the ordinary and interesting. And maybe Garrett, again, you're saying you're writing about your experiences traveling, but obviously the people who are reading you, not just because they were your old friends or something, but they must have found something interesting for them about what you were saying. Yeah. But how do you figure that out?
I mean
good question. Let me know when you figure it out.
Maybe Garrett knows.
I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess the best thing, like what he's saying, is if you get positive feedback from people who are reading your stuff, I mean, that always helps to kind of motivate you. Yeah. I feel like it's very easy to look at what you're writing and be like, this is boring to me because it's what I've already experienced. It's what I've already thought about a million times, but that doesn't mean someone who's reading it hasn't experienced or had, like, it may be new and fresh to them. It might be something interesting to them. So when you get positive feedback from people, even if it's just one or two people, that can motivate you to keep writing.
Yeah, and it's giving you an idea of what people respond to.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you were getting that through like a kind of side channel, like people emailing or messaging you on Facebook
mostly
or stuff?
Facebook,
But you could conceivably get that through comments as well, right, in a blog or something like that. Yeah, because that's another way. And the other thing I think, or just wondering about what you guys think about it, I mean, is blogging like too old? Is it over with? I mean, or do you have to be in Tumblr in order for your blog to be like, relevant or something?
I personally don't spend a lot of time reading blogs, but I still know people. Like I had a friend back home who was a yoga teacher who she like uses her blog to help create lifestyle business, like where she just kind of does enough with her blog and has enough followers and has enough people that like she can reach out to these like small startup companies, the same kind of stuff they're doing with like Instagram and Twitter and everything else now, where you're like able to be like, look, here's how many people are following me, like give me a free yoga mat and I can tag you or whatever it is they're
Right,
doing, and like
right.
we can help grow each other's business that way. So it's like I think it's still there and still relevant in some ways. I'm not personally using it, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's dead. Would I say dead? I don't know.
Yeah. And Garrett, would you keep on, like you're saying you're maybe migrating to WordPress, but I mean, would you consider just like going straight into Facebook without the kind of blog, or not Facebook, but of some social media, which basically affords just about the same thing, like a stream of posts, but you're within a kind of an audience already?
I mean, the lines are definitely getting blurred.
Yeah.
I think that you definitely have to start integrating like more like different forms of media. I think to really like keep up, and like vlogs and all kinds of different aspects that make, if you want to be like competitive in terms of blogging, I guess.
Right. Right.
That's kind of where I was at too. Is like the idea of blogging. Like I don't mind writing, but it's not super natural for me. Whereas like something like talking, I could do forever. So like, which is why I came out here with being so intent on like learning to podcast, and then I drove across the country with the idea of podcasting being like a kind of an attachment to the idea of putting out information. Like blogging is a great way to do that, but so is podcasting.
That's exactly.
So is YouTube, and so is all of those other things.
Right,
So.
right, and they actually come out of blogging directly. So I mean, it's
Now
like
it's about finding
video blogging and
where-
audio blogging.
Yeah, exactly. What kind of is your best medium? Like I'm
Yeah.
not a terrible writer, but it's by no means something I've spent a lot of time working with or feeling comfortable with. So like to suddenly sit down and be like, now I'm a writer, like more difficult necessarily than kind of being like, okay, hey, give me a microphone and let me just
Yeah,
breathe.
I bet you anything that even in audio blogging you'll find I need a script. You can't escape writing. But I just wanted to first of all, Kyle, your story about your yoga teacher I think is really teaches us something, which is a lot of people who find the courage and the tenacity to keep on blogging is because it does go beyond kind of a personal expressive motive, and it gets into basically maintaining a profile and a kind of a personal brand, which feeds into some kind of business that you're doing. And maybe we can look next class or something at more of these LinkedIn blogs. But LinkedIn as a business-focused social media community, they've got some pretty darn good bloggers up here who basically their motive is to heighten their profile and their notoriety in their particular business. But they have roundups. Olivia Barrow, she has like over 100 posts, and most of them are of kind of journalistic quality. But I don't think she's writing from personal experience. She's basically doing journalism on the side because she is a professional print journalist. She's doing it in blogs as well. Anyhow, it looks like we ran out of time, but let's finish this up quickly next class, and then we'll get into seeing people's packages, right? And don't be afraid by Leland's example. The minimum requirements are there in the assignment. I'll be happy if I see the minimum requirements.